$100 pension 10, 15 years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk. We're live. It's Monday evening, the 11th day of the month of March, and I'm excited to be back. Feel like it's been quite a while since I've had a live stream, so I'm definitely looking forward to finding out what's on your mind tonight. And so as you can tell, there's a new number above my head, 133-462-0027. Thought I would just switch it up a little bit, keep it authentic. That's a true Detroit area code. And so as always, people, my name is Mike, the host of RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. We're live. I'm excited to be back with you guys. And more importantly, as we give it a second for more people to join in, hopefully they're being notified, more importantly. But as always, any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're watching from. We'd love to give you a shout out via the chat. Or if you're bold enough, feel free to call in, 313-462-0027. Have to get used to saying that number there. But as always, let me actually clean up some things on my end here because I'm noticing something I don't like. And so it has to do with how my shirt is coming through. That's not, looks like I'm fading out of there. So let me try to clean that up real quick. There we go. Clean it up just a little bit. Anyway, so what's going on, man? So I had a chance to, we got Detroit here. Let me find out who this is. Okay, we got 361 Tactical Detroit here. How you doing, my friend? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. What side? Your east side? West side? What's or downriver? Where's your humble abode at? It says, hi, Mike. How you doing, Scott? Pablo. Darnell, $4.57 trillion budget. So I'm definitely going to talk about that because I had a thought that I want to share with you guys as to how significant of a number that can be when you add up the total. You know how they have those estimates of what each household or what each individual would have to pay in order to meet their national debt obligations if we were, directly responsible, even though we are responsible on the back end. And so that's what's going on here. So I got some thoughts I want to share with you. We got Darnell from the Chi-Town, 363 down from Southwest. All right, welcome, my friend. Appreciate you tuning in. It says Federal Reserve note days is number. Fidelity is offering Bitcoin. It's now a global currency. Fidelity, yeah. So, yeah, I've definitely seen how I've noticed, and not to even go down the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency lane just yet. I know it's something we can't avoid. But I've noticed, and I'm sure because I pay attention to a variety of subject matter, but I'm noticing that there's more and more chit chatter of institutional money. I'm hearing more and more about institutional money is coming. And my thought is, when it gets here, apart from there being an injection of liquidity into the market, then what? And so my thought is, because with the institutional money, I know the University of Michigan, I believe I read an article, is sampling about 40 million or so of their retirement fund into the crypto sector. I'm not sure if it's directly or if it's in regards to funding a couple things on the back end, but more and more institutional retirement, pension, hedge fund type funds are coming in. And so they're definitely already in because they're investing in the infrastructure prior to, without actually investing in the actual coins themselves, some directly. So it's already here, in my opinion. They're developing on the foundational side of things. So that's something definitely that can be exciting overall. But the question is then, what from here? Like, where does it go from here? If we reach all-time highs again, if we surpass that $800 million or $800 billion mark, or touch $1 trillion plus, then what? I mean, that's the thing. So basically, everyone is going to basically be running from national currencies, which could be good for central banks, I believe. So I think it'll be in the central bank's best interest to allow the prices of cryptocurrencies to rise. So Donald Muhammad says, Trump's budget. What is he doing? They must be planning the war. Yeah, man. So that video I did earlier, going through just some of the cuts being made, as well as some of the expenditures that will be added on top of what's already going on. And clearly, a lot of things that they are ramping up funds for was a national nuclear something or another, which was a good 8, 9, 10%. NASA got a little spike because we all know that everyone's in a race to try to get to another planet. And then I hear so much about how we didn't go there to the moon originally. And so I'm hearing so many things that I don't really dive in deep to it because we got enough issues on this planet here. Nevertheless, if we actually left this planet yet. And then also, what else? It was a Defense Department and then military spending. And so all those departments that to me put us more in a war ready type of frame of mind. So where we're ramping up for something. Like, what are we racing up against? And clearly, I think it has to do with the excessive spending that Russia now is doing now that we've backed out of that cold arms agreement or whatever it is. So factor all that stuff in, man. Nothing pretty is ahead when it comes to war and the whatever's brewing under the scenes that we don't know about. It says, yeah, Syria just threatened to go to war with Israel if they don't leave the Golden Heights. Ah, man, that's never good because once again, the U.S., because we're allies with everyone that basically goes by the same drum beat that we tell them to, we're allies with them. So if you throw some bombs at them, we have to go in and play Captain Save a Country. So, yeah. And that's the thing is they go to war. We go to war with no problem, and we send the innocent young children who have no clue actually what they're fighting for or whose war it actually is. And it's never a true war for the people. It's more so, as I've always heard and believe, it's more of a banker's war, because I would imagine, and I bet you would agree, that if there was an option to war, other than sending our children, if every political figure had to send their family members first, I guarantee you they have a solution. But let's find out. We have a call here. Let's see how this goes. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Let me make sure I got my... 1 second. I think I'm turned on. Give me 1 second. Make sure I got some volume here. Let me see. So this is my first test call. So let me see how this goes. Let me fix some things on my end real quick. Did have a chance to test this out earlier. So let me try this. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Is anybody there? Going once, going twice. I'm going to hang it up because I can't hear anything. So if someone was really there, call back and I'll try to correct some things on my end here. But we should be good to go. Let me try something different. So I'll try that. So yeah, try to give me a call back and I'll definitely try to get you on here. I apologize for that. And so as I mentioned, new number, new way of trying to get things going. Easier said than done, Tony. He said, get a new phone. Let me see. We got somebody. Hello, callers. Are you there? So this may not work as planned. Let me try to iron some things out real quick. Let me see here. Because now I'm using Skype, so there's no real reason to have issues apart from just not being able to hear people. Hello? Yep, it's not working. So may not be able to take calls tonight. So we may have to just move on without that, and I'll iron it out tomorrow. But the idea is there, as always. The idea is there always. It says, Mike, what are your predictions with the next recession, depression? What are my predictions with the next recession, depression? According to everything that I've been covering article-wise and just people I've interviewed over the last 1+ maybe years, a lot of people, as I always mentioned, have their own indicators. And so with those indicators, the goal is to basically predict and determine based upon prior trends and prior times of recession. And so right now, according to a lot of different statistics, more and more people, more and more economists are coming out with the idea that they're throwing out 2020, into 2019. But my thing is when you see all these countless jobs being lost, economic slowdown, you hear GDP numbers being adjusted, you hear corporate debt is about to spike, and we got 4.57 trillion being proposed as a debt plan when there's no reason for that apart from just needing all this excess funds. I believe the economic slowdown is currently now. Now, it's not until it's officially announced and the market tanks that they'll give it the official label of a recession. But I read articles the other day mentioning that I think it's Italy's in a recession. And so if you look at the indicators on a variety of national figures for different countries, Argentina's in a recession already. We know Venezuela's in a depression. And so all the emerging, so-called emerging markets are all having issues paying back their debt. Therefore, they're not growing. Therefore, they're in a slowdown, hence the word recession. So as far as it hitting home, we're going to be the last one to be hit. And when it hits here, it's going to be a worldwide contagion of just complete market meltdown. And so as far as the complete global meltdown, we still may have some time because central bankers can definitely prop up, plaster over, and monetize anything to make to give the illusion that everything is healthy and stable. So that's why I say we got a while. So slowdowns right now, recession to where it's going to be something we all feel in our pockets directly. We may have a couple more months, give or take a year or two, because the central banks can do whatever they want to do. And so let me see. It says the Green Deal is needed. Tony Blaylock, elaborate on that for me, because I assume you're joking, but I don't know. And so as far as the new Green Deal, I think that would equate to what I heard, something like 93 trillion or something of that nature. So I don't see how that's good for the sustainability of the Federal Reserve note as a world reserve currency. And so what I'm more concerned with, and what made me decide to do that article earlier, was just 4.75. You know, it's a historical amount to be put forth as a budget. So I'm thinking, like, I wonder what's the definition of a budget. Like, I always thought a budget was you balance out, you know, your debit, credit, you take away some things, you know, you ask a couple things here, but you try to have something that's comparable and well within our means. And so to throw out 4.7, 4.57, but then cut a lot of things that I think people will really be pissed at, like education and Social Security. They talk about cutting Social Security, you know, a certain percentage. So Medicaid, Medicare is going to be cut within 10 years, 1.5 trillion and 847 billion. But yet we get 8.5, 8.6 for a wall. I'm thinking like, I don't think that's going to fly well come election time for you, Mr. Trump. But perhaps something's changed, or he's just throwing out figures because he's a guy who wants to make the deal. So he throw out 4.57 as a high number, and this guy could be literally playing, you know, like what is it? I won't say Russian roulette, but he literally could just be throwing out a figure in hopes of it being denied, so that it'll come back to him to where he'll have a chance to renegotiate with his enemies on the other side of the aisle, and they'll probably settle for 3.1 trillion, and they'll get a couple of handshakes and a couple of friendly deals in there. So I'm thinking like still. So we're at 22 right now, about to touch 23. So it's good to say by the time the next president or whoever it is, the next election term, to have roughly 26 trillion or more than that. It's like, wow, that's not pretty. That is not pretty at all. What else? We got Bang Chief. How you doing, my friend? Mandingo Warrior says, what are your thoughts about the Andrew Yang? Is he running on a platform of UBI? Andrew Yang, Mandingo, good point there. I did not listen to his case for a universal basic allowance. And so I don't really call anything that's given out as income. I look at it as an allowance that's being given to you by someone. And by them giving it to you, they automatically have rights over you and to whatever it is they give you. So universal basic allowance is more like it. Now, will he, Whether I fly, I don't know. I don't know what his stance is. I never really listened. I saw a couple, videos, but I didn't listen just because I saw UBA. And apart from knowing that it's going to be needed, especially with all these job closures, it's not something that it really excites me because once again, it's going to mean bigger government and more debt. And so people up front will want that because their pockets are hurting temporarily, but not understanding the long-term side effects of just going into debt deeper, which we have to, unfortunately. But like right now, man, is the best time, as I always mention, to get your weight up because it's going to come a point in time where nobody really wants to do much for a Federal Reserve note, aka the dollar. So right now is the best buying opportunity, or just time. Right now is probably the best time to actually strategize and plan accordingly on to how you're going to unload a lot of those monetary units of debt while you still can, because 5-10 years for sure, I don't think it's going to look the same, especially if no one wants it outside of our borders. So that's going to be the big issue. So I have not looked into Andrew Yang to answer your question, so feel free to send me some articles. I would love to dive into a little bit more deeper. It says, is U.S. doing a coup in Venezuela? Antang, if I'm saying that correctly. I do believe that everything is being led by the Western powers that be. I wouldn't say, I think it goes well beyond our political figures. Whoever's behind our political figures, the people who really make their paychecks. It's not the American public, as far as us voting them in. There's some forces behind them, I believe. So it's those individuals that need and want war because it's profitable, and it's just one of them things where it always seems to work its way out in some form of capacity to boost economic growth, and that's what we're lacking right now. So that's why I can see that coming. But I'm very upset because I'm not able to get to my phone calls, and I have to figure this out because it is bothering me. And so let me, what I can do is let me try something different. Hold on for 1 second, people. Let me figure this out. Unmuted call. So I'm trying to see if there's something I'm missing. Is there something I'm missing? I think because I'm using, let me try this. Hello?
Hello?
Hey there, how you doing? I got it. My bad. I apologize. So my name. So thanks for calling in. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Q from Chicago. How you doing, man?
Q from Chicago. How you doing, my friend? What's on your mind this evening?
Hey, man, I want to ask you about the Boeing 737 crashes that have taken place around the world. What do you think about that?
So I saw that there's been 2 plane crashes in the last 2 months, apart from the one in Ethiopia. I wasn't aware of the other one, so I don't know much about it, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
All right, so I have a very interesting thing about what I think is going on.
Oh, my goodness.
Geopolitical war that's going on.
All right, so let me do one thing. As always, I got to make some adjustments on the fly, because I didn't hear fully what you said. I want to make sure I get you. So I apologize for the technical difficulties, but we're having fun tonight. So I'm sorry. So say that one more time.
I think it goes back down to the trade war again that we are currently dealing with.
Okay. So to shine a little light on that for me.
So basically, the two that you're talking about is the 737 from Ethiopia that happened, and then you also had the one that happened in Jakarta, which was 5 months ago. Now, the one that people don't know about that just happened that happened actually this morning was a flight between New Jersey and Chicago, and the 737, according to a lot of the passengers, they heard a lot of rumbling. A lot of the passengers said they saw a big flash, and they heard a noise from the engine and a fire. So the captain turn around, made an emergency landing back in New Jersey, and the FAA did an investigation. And they said the FAA said that there was absolutely nothing that was wrong from the New Jersey flight.
Interesting. So without even, of course, without even knowing much about that, just hearing your explanation of that, it kind of got me thinking about some type of internal job, perhaps by because the plane can be controlled manually or as well as automatically from a different location. So they have the ability to control and to fly and autopilot. So I wonder, is there some type of internal sabotage or something? I'm just throwing stuff out there because 3 planes out of nowhere. I'm not sure how new this particular model of a Boeing 737 is. I don't know much about aviation like that, but to have 3, that's not likely. The odds of that happening, in my opinion, is very, very slim. So what's up with that? Is it intentional? So what are your thoughts on that?
Because I actually, when it happened, I was talking to my mother about this, and I told my mother, I said, watch, Mom, I said, you're going to see Boeing tanks crash come Monday, and I said, you're also going to see a lot of retaliation against countries. And so what happened? Soon enough, it happened with New Jersey, and then we started seeing all these countries starting to ground their 737s. So with South Africa, we seen Ethiopia backtracked and did it. China was the first country did it. Indonesia did it. We also were beginning to see this major backlash against the U.S. Against Boeing, which is a major U.S. company. On the back end of that, you look at Russia. They have now developed their own major airline, and the Chinese as well. They also build airplanes.
Interesting.
And so now, what a lot of people also don't realize is that a lot of our technology has been compromised because with the accession of the Chinese into the WTO, part of the trade agreement, or part of the agreement was that we would transfer a lot of our technology over to the Chinese. So in doing so, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the technology that we develop was developed by DARPA, CSS, the NSA. These organizations, when we allowed the Chinese to ascend to the WTO, we transfer all that knowledge to them. Now, a lot of people don't realize is that all of our technology embedded inside of it, there are specific chips inside of our technology that beacons back to our government, and our government uses all this data for telemetry to be able to track things, and to be able to track us around the world.
Yeah.
So when we gave this technology over to the Chinese saw this, they looked at it and they said, what's this technology? The Chinese reverse engineered it, and guess what? Now they implant their own devices or little rice chips or whatever you want. They're tracking devices inside of our technology.
So with all that being said there, what I've gathered, which is a great summary / potential hypothesis of what could be happening. And so what I gather is that with all that backdoor access to all that smart gadget technology of these super high-tech planes, it's probably not too difficult to get back into some of the core parts of the engine and whatnot and just malfunction it intentionally, or to just plant a fake bug or something like that could cause issues such as that. So interesting. So I would imagine if we have another issue like this in Boeing, their stock, I'm trying to find out what their stock is now, but if they have a major issue where they suffer big time, that's a big part of the whole industrial military complex type of order. They're all in the same club there. And that could be a catalyst for war, because if Boeing, which is one of the big manufacturers for us, as well as all the other military companies, they could, the U.S. could definitely say it's a trade war. Or, they can really escalate this thing more. And then, of course, we're going to retaliate in some form or fashion, which could lead to something very dangerous as well. So, Shy, man, I appreciate you chiming in on that, because I wasn't even aware of what happened today. So thank you for keeping your ears to the ground, my friend. Thank you for calling and sharing that.
No worries. Take it easy, Mike.
All right, have a good one.
All right.
Yeah, man. So we look like we up and running. So I appreciate that call there. And so for all the people that tried to call, I couldn't get in. It was just something on my back end. So as always, I apologize. But, I'm a work in progress. I'm still learning. That's all. So anyway, let's keep it moving. So I missed a lot in the chat, and I definitely want to make sure I answer any questions or respond to any questions or anything of that nature. So let me see what's going on. Dow Jones. I saw something about the Dow Jones. Mexico, it says, Mike, there's a loose cable when you touch the cable. Yeah, so Spirit, yeah, so once I bought a new cable, and so I tried to use it, and so it's a brand new cable. Just took it out the box like 5 minutes ago, but it's a little faulty. So had to go back to the old school cable. So, but we should be good now. Shouldn't have any more issues. I should be good to go. And so what else says? Trillions just keep disappearing for some weird reason, and they don't know where it is. Yeah. So let me, as I started off tonight, I was mentioning about 4.75 trillion being added to our national debt. And you know how we have the figures that's usually given to us about let me look it up, about how much each citizen would owe if the bill came due type of thing on our national debt. And so I'm going to actually pull it up here because this is something I often refer to, the U.S. debt national clock or whatever that is. So let me make it a little bit bigger so people can see. And so let me go down a little bit. All right, so just looking at the numbers here. So we're currently at $22 trillion. And so this 4.75 may not go through, but they're going to compromise. It'll be 3.5 or something. They're going to knock off 1 trillion. It's just pennies at the end of the day because it's not going to be paid back. Who really cares? That's what it seems like. So if you look at let me see, it says, okay, so as of today, with 22 trillion, here's the debt per citizen equals the U.S. national divided by the number of U.S. citizens. So as of now, each one of us that's a citizen in this country, if you have a Social Security card, you're born here, whatever, you have you're a citizen here, your fair share that you would have to pay in order to meet our government's obligations internationally is $67,000. And so the first thing came to mind was if you add 3 or 4 or 5 more to that, that's only going to put that much more of a burden, not only on our country and our inability to be able to repay, but then on top of that, if the Fed continues to hike at all, that means that 25, 26, whatever trillion it might be, just becomes that much more of a burden to pay back. Because once again, how do you pay back a debt if you don't have a job, if you don't really produce value? You have to raise taxes or somehow, some way, begin inflating away the currency. That's the only 2 options. You raise taxes or inflate away the currency. So either one of those 2 options, somebody, if there's a third, somebody feel free to let me know. But just off what has happened in other countries all the time, you either increase taxes, which puts a burden on people because most people will make do and try to get away from it, or you inflate away the currency. And at this point, the second one's probably the best, where they're going to inflate away the currency. And so there's no problem in continuing to add trillions upon trillions because it's not being paid back anyway. So think about that. If they're going to continue to increase the national debt, it won't be paid back. We're going to struggle eventually to pay our interest alone. There's going to have to be some changes made or something done, which would not be pretty or comfortable for everybody. So we're operating literally on borrowed time. And so if you look at it from the standpoint of one day, someday, there's going to come a day of reckoning where the debt will no longer be supported or sustained or allowed by our creditors. And so we're literally living on borrowed time, but trillion by trillion. And so knowing that we're living on borrowed time, my thought is, let me know if I could be wrong, but I have so much energy and time within a day, within a year, within a decade, within my own life. And all our lives, everyone who's watching me right now, our lives are based upon what we earn in the form of our national currencies, whether you're in the U.S. or wherever you might be. And so if you know you're operating on borrowed time, literally, because the debt is, borrowed for the most part, and it won't be repaid, that means that it's going to come a point where the notes you're holding and the account that you think you have, in the nominal sense, has to be addressed because it's debt. And so if your bank account says 400,000, 500,000, a million, whatever your 401k, your IRA, whatever you think you hold there, there's going to come a day where that number there will be tested, because what happens when we either reach hyperinflation or there's just a debt default to where the dollar itself is basically dumped and abandoned, to where those figures no longer purchase what you worked your entire life to save them up for, in the form of them being some type of nest egg or savings or a comfortable cushion for your livelihood. That's going to be challenged. And so that when I say we're living on borrowed time, we're literally living on borrowed time. So my thoughts are, if I'm living on borrowed time, I might as well utilize my economic energy in a more reasonable form to store it in something that has the ability to retain purchasing power as our national currency goes the opposite direction. That's just my thought process. I could be completely off. If somebody, wants to share their thoughts on that or say I'm completely wrong, feel free to do so. No problem. But if you're living on borrowed time, something worth thinking about. And so let me go here. It says, Mike, what are your thoughts on quantitative easing for and negative interest rates? Do you think the Feds will use those tools after the crash or before? I think that my opinion is quantitative easing and negative interest rates are probably the most anticipated monetary tool to be used, because that's just seemed like what might come next, because that's following the current trend of them having already done easing and them already having lowered rates. So it's good to say that rates won't be hiked up high enough to be lowered in time. And then they've already hinted at the bank governor of California, San Francisco, mentioned that could monetary policy, as far as the easing aspect, become just a traditional policy. So they've hinted at the idea that it could be. So with that being the case, I don't doubt that will be what might be suggested or supposed by political figures to just pump more liquidity into the system. But I have a funny suspicion that there's probably 2 or 3 different tools in their toolkit that we haven't thought of yet. And so automatic assumption is easing and negative rates, because that's just ideal, it seems. But I think they're holding on to 1 or 2 more cards in the deck that could be the last nail in the dollar coffin. So I don't know what those are. Somehow, some way, I think it has something to do with cryptocurrencies. Like I mentioned earlier, before we got very deep in this conversation this evening, I mentioned how it would be in the Federal Reserve's best interest to back and support the cryptocurrency sector to divert some of the attention from the purchasing power that people are losing now and going to lose in the days ahead as a result of their policies. Because people will feel a lot different if they look at their crypto wallets and their coins or whatever are going up at a very alarming rate, to where it gives that illusion of wealth. But in actuality, it's a reflection of the purchasing power being lost from the dollar. And so as people begin to suffer in their pockets with paper and digital dollars, to have the illusion or the comfortability rather of, I'm gaining on this side here, could balance some of that off, which could buy them more time. So yeah. But yeah, so the long story short, there's more tools that we haven't heard about yet. So I think they're coming. And then what else we got here? It says, look at Japan. They have no inflation. That is the way we are heading. Tony Blaylock. Very true. But yet, once again, Tony, the thing I think is different than Japan. Japan is, okay, it's one of the top G7 countries. Okay. But the Japanese yen, apart from it having a very small part in the SDR basket and the whole global currency basket that gives the SDR its value, its share of the global currency and usage is very, 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 very small. And so that means that the yen isn't really utilized outside of their country. It's more so an internal issue they have there, so it can be contained. And so our issue is that the dollars, there's more Federal Reserve notes outside this country than it's in this country. And therefore, if there's any mistrust or doubt or monetary warfare as far as the currency crisis that's already underway, because every currency, this trade war is ultimately a currency war, because it's everyone trying to debase and lower the value of their currency to make it more make it a little bit stronger for them exporting out of their country. So everyone's racing to the bottom anyway. And so the last country that needs to race to the bottom is the one currency that everybody and their mother has outside this country, especially, not to mention here, because once again, it's just a matter of confidence. Once people realize that you can't really hold a piece of paper for that long period of a time without it hurting you as far as what you'll be able to purchase with it, you're going to look to cash it out. And cash it out only sends it back home where it originated from. And I don't know how we can contain inflation where the monetary base or the what's it called, the I can't think of it, but the index that talks about the currency in circulation. I'm drawing a blank. Anybody remember, let me know. But right now, no one's really spending, so it's low. But once that thing picks up, they may lose control of that. That's just my opinion. And so it says, what do you think of the U.S. taking 50 tons of gold from Syria? Darnell, I heard about that. It's one of the things I'm not surprised. And so I think I read an article describing how some of the coalition forces or some of the some of some of the Syrian people or whoever they might have been assisted in moving the gold from the location where it was at to helicopters and they flew it out or whatever, however that it was. I don't doubt it. And so all the gold that's being supplied to our eastern people on the other side of the planet, China and Russia, comes from somewhere. Not only are they mining and doing their own little ordeals, but we still have to supply gold at the rate of $1,300 an ounce. And so, when you look at the total amount of paper and digits in circulation, $1,300 an ounce is a steal in comparison to every note that has to be accounted for. And so we have to, they have to get gold by any means necessary to meet the demands of those that are holding on and propping up our ability to borrow at extremely low rates still. So I'm not surprised at all. Not surprised at all. And as always, the phone lines are open. 1313-462-0027. I got to remember that. I got to memorize that number so that I can repeat it as easily as the other one. But I had to switch it up a little bit. Keep it more authentic with a 313 area code number. Whoa. All right. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Craig out of Beaumont.
Craig out of Beaumont. How you doing this evening, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Hold on for a second. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, man, I was just listening to podcasts, and there was not a whole lot of chatter going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason why for a whole lot chatter not going on.
A whole lot of chatter. So in the chat or a whole lot of chatter outside? Where we talking about chat?
No, what I'm saying is there's not too much chatter going on.
Uh-huh, okay.
Quiet is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, so either that's the information is not informative or it's informative and they're glued in and listening. What do you think? Which one? To be honest.
Well, to be honest with you, we really need to stick to your platform right now.
Mm-hmm.
Get your weight up.
Get your weight up. 100%.
Yeah. Actually, last week I got my weight up.
Yeah. Yeah, same as here. Same as here, man. Yeah, so I got just a little hint and a little let the cat out the bag just a little bit. I have another project that I'm working on that I'm excited about, and I think it's going to be a blessing to the community. And so I won't go into much detail, but I think it's going to be another step for the RTD community as far as assisting you guys in getting your weight up. So I think everyone will enjoy it. So just stay tuned for that. I think will be something that will be fun for everybody because it'll put something unique in your hands, put like that. But anyway, what else is on your mind this evening?
Well, actually, what you're talking about, what you're talking about is what's really needed.
Yeah.
Actually, people starting to get some physical silver and some physical gold in their hands.
Yeah.
Because in this time when it's going on, there's not a whole lot of news, there's not a whole lot of hype.
Mm-hmm.
Man, go ahead and get your weight up.
Yeah, why not, man? Go ahead. So it's our right as citizens to basically do what was intended all along. The Federal Reserve note, the Federal Reserve system came into existence with a little bit of fine print at the bottom saying redeemable for gold, silver, or whatever that note may have said. And so 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years later, they removed the ink, but the concept still remains the same. You have the right to redeem your notes for your own benefit, I believe, just because it's no longer lawfully encouraged by our government to do so. But as long as you're aware and you're doing such, my friend, I believe you'll be okay from a financial standpoint. But we have other issues to worry about as well. So that's just one angle.
Well, my angle is this: is that it's like a lot of people try to get that. A lot of people try to get that one quick hit or that one big payday or whatever they would call it. Where they can make it a little come up.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is this: if you go ahead and just continue your life and you do your savings like you're supposed to do your savings, but on your savings, you go ahead and diverse your savings and you actually get physical, tangible gold or silver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then go ahead and invest in a little bit of crypto. Mm-hmm. But when you do your crypto, Bitcoin is king right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you got some little choice stable coins, and you got a little choice of those. I don't know what they call those other coins, but they're like the offshoots of the the Bitcoin and stuff. What do you call it?
You got altcoins, utility tokens, you got security tokens, you got all types of stable coins. Myself, I personally, apart from just, I don't really mess with stable coins. I don't know. I haven't done much with them or know anything about them. So I know that they're not decentralized, put it like that. So they have a purpose, but they're not intended for what the cryptocurrency / blockchain was introduced to us, for, in my opinion. So, but definitely, in anything you do, make sure you stay educated and up on what you're doing, because, you are taking matters into your own hands. So therefore it comes with risk. Just like anything.
Exactly. And what am I getting at is that even though we have some things that's going on, and we have this euphoria that's going on in our community right now, the people have to keep in mind is that at the end of the day, you still have to go home.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, also, your goals hadn't changed. You're trying to take care of your family. You're trying to secure some sort of a future for your family. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and take your finances. When you look at your finances and you have something that's liquid that you can afford to move to those areas, go ahead and invest in those areas where you can stabilize something for the future of your family, so you can go ahead and sustain some type of legacy.
Yeah. Generational wealth, man. That's one thing that we're not taught or encouraged to focus on. And because we're in a consumer-based economy to where it's all about the here and now, but not too many people actually know the processes or the steps towards creating generational wealth apart from a few. So if that was taught and encouraged as opposed to your personal comforts today, I think more people would probably be in better shape, and there wouldn't be so many reports about, car loans and debts and credit cards and all that stuff that we hear, because people are living for today and not necessarily thinking about their future. So, but that's due to our education system or lack thereof. So, but my friend, I appreciate you calling in. Thanks for calling in and sharing your thoughts.
Hold on for a second.
Yep, go ahead.
Because one thing I was saying that this is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
Is because everybody's got this feeling of uncertainty and everything, because the talking heads out there and they're saying doom and gloom and everything else.
Yeah.
And man, that's where I strive, dude. And this, by the way, this is not financial advice.
Oh no, this is.
And I'm not telling anybody to go ahead and do what I do or anything like that. But whenever you have the talking heads talk about doom and gloom, oh man, that's when I get hungry real quick. Because when they sit there doing gloom, I look at it from my opinion, my perspective, and once again, I'm going to reinstate: this is not financial advice.
Yeah.
But whenever somebody says doom and gloom, oh man, I look at it as like, hey man, I'm the great Wizard of Oz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I mean, if you're familiar with the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Good point, my friend. Well, hey, thank you. I appreciate you calling and sharing your thoughts, as always. Have a good evening, boss.
All right. No problem. You too.
Yeah. Good stuff as always. Oh, man. Gets better and better. Yeah, man, so I missed a couple things here. And I see something about Richard Nixon. I see a lot of stuff about Richard Nixon. So we got a lot of Richard Nixon fans out there, it looks like. Let me see. Somebody get me caught up to speed on what they're talking about Richard Nixon. What happened? It says, no inflation. How about $2 plus deposit for a 20-ounce Coke? Yeah. Mike, only 5% know this, and it's been this way for years. How long do you think it will take for the masses to realize they are being duped? Tony, good question, man. I think, in my honest opinion is because we've been so dumbed down and so distracted by smart gadgets. I mean, the word smart just is, and now we got the whole 5G push and all the, S10 plus, S10, SS, and all that stuff. The fact that we got a cell phone coming out every couple of months now, and it's ramping up now, lets me know what people rather focus on than, what they're using to acquire those things. So I think this can go on for a while, just because it's all about personal comforts at this current moment. So people can fall for the people can get duped for many, many years to come. And it's not until it knocks on their front door, whether it be a job loss, health issues, or something that would cause people to wake up and start questioning. And that usually takes, a hard fall for most people, unfortunately. So I think this whole lack of interest in monetary matters especially can go on for quite a while. And that's why it's one of the things where I say rethinking the dollar, in my opinion, is still premature because it's still early. Like people still, there's a lot of people out there who can look at the dollar purchasing power graph and see that it's 2 cents, 1 cent, and be like, oh, we got time. But I'm thinking like, I wonder, and this is a good question. Anybody got any questions or answers on this one? I wonder how much longer will we be able to look at that graph, of where I have it somewhere around here. We gotta figure that out. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike, Tony from Oakland.
Tony, how you doing, my friend? What's on your mind this evening?
Not too bad, man. The reason I say that only 5% are awake is because the other 95% is still asleep, and it's been this way for a long time. Yeah. I think we got another maybe 5 or 6 years before we can see the turn of events.
Yeah.
You realize that China got into the IMF basket, and they do a reevaluation every so often. By 2025, it'll be 2 evaluations, and by that time, I think they can surpass the weight that they have in the basket from the U.S. and become the dominant currency.
Yeah.
That's why I say that it's going to take some time, and they got a long way to run with the GDP of Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, people are asleep. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Now watch this. As far as that particular weight that you're referring to in the currency basket, and so I've saw some statistics that mention how overall, as far as the most popular currencies being utilized for international trade, the dollar has dropped, something small, but it's significant in the fact that there's been no changes majorly in the last couple of decades. So it dropped maybe 2%, 3% of being utilized globally, of which the yen and the yuan now takes away from that. So you're saying that in the next 2 or so little checkups they're going to do, that it will it be a noticeable dent to where it'll be obvious that the dollar has a true competitor in monetary trade, or what?
They're so far behind now that the next one evaluation will just bring them closer, and then the BRICS nations will be together in getting the currency into the yuan, and then the U.S. will still have their somewhat devalued number because we're heading in the wrong direction, and China's heading in the opposite direction.
Yeah. And so what I would just guess and assume is that while we're looking at the currency baskets with all this gold accumulation out east, that they have some alternative international trade vehicles / whether it be platforms and units of exchange, that is probably just more so. This is it will be the basket weight of currencies will be a diversion tactic from what they're really trading in. Because if they're no longer using the SWIFT system, they have their own payment vehicles as far as their own the chips and whatever else out there that they're working on. They're already utilizing intercurrency swaps, so that they're using less and less dollars already. So I wonder, can we actually trust those figures as they come from the IMF or whoever else tries to populate those numbers? Because I believe that they're already not using the dollar based upon all the articles we've seen before. So do you think it'll matter?
They're still going to have the Swiss system. It's just that it'll be named something else. And I think I sent you something. ISO 20022. 222. All the banks are switching over to that. And yes, it has some form of crypto in it, but I just look at crypto like this. And I owe you an apology and your boy an apology for the other night for jumping down everybody's throat. I just don't like when people say that crypto is going to be the go-to money. It's going to be a world thing, and everybody's going to have to use crypto. No, crypto does what crypto does, and all the people that are doing crypto. Fine, you're making money, but it is no way going to be the thing that because my grandma don't know how to use it.
Yeah, yeah, mine either. Good point. So we have a while before there's going to be actually a use. I mean, there's a use case now, but more so for the younger generation. But what I'm more than confident of is that because all the retired, so the baby boomer generation is the generation to keep an eye on, because they're the ones that have already put in heavily to the system, whereas in the younger generation, they're still tiptoeing and they're being encouraged to go into stocks and bonds, but yet they're really going into cryptos already. So as a counter hedge. So when it comes time to sell all those stocks, that's my biggest concern, because where is all those funds going to go or come from? And that's where I can see them tokenizing a lot of equity shares and whatever to kind of shift some of those gains from the crypto sector into the Dow Jones, so that it doesn't just drop off the cliff completely and rob 70+ million people. What are your thoughts on that?
How do we know cryptos ain't the new Dow Jones?
Yeah, good point. And so the question would be, will it be like in a form of tokenizing those, like will Apple come out with their Apple coin that will be listed on, their firm, another form of exchange? So will the Dow be relevant with this BACT coming up? Because I can see BACT, because they are behind all that anyway, I can see them transitioning the next form of retirement vehicle opportunities through BACT and just getting rid of the Dow altogether.
Right, get rid of the Dow altogether, and cryptos would be just go and look up Bloomberg unicorns. There's 200 already on there that they're trading pretty stuff. It's stuff that don't make anything. It don't make any money. It's just being traded.
Yeah.
Uber, Airbnb.
Yeah.
These don't make anything, and they're on Bloomberg's unicorn. It's crypto, and so I think the crypto is the next Dow.
Yeah,
and it's not the next monetary engine to this whole thing that we're going to go through. And I think the people that are retired, they're just going to get diluted. I mean, it's just going to continue. The cut this year, the cut next year, the cut the next 4 years, and next thing you know, it'd be like a welfare.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and so here now that's why we're going to hear more and more about the UBA or UBI being suggested, and people are going to try to actually justify it and make it sound like it's a viable solution. But it could be a viable solution when there's a lot of people unemployed or not receiving their full benefits, and the cost of living goes up, and there's not enough disposable income to meet our everyone's living needs. And so, I can see how they're going to try to justify and say that we need assistance. But once again, where does that come from? So it's going to end up hurting us anyway.
We got ways to run. So we're already an MMT. Everybody just don't realize it. We're already an MMT. And it's just this new Green Deal, they're just going to pass it on, and then at the end, it's going to be like, hey, we need to do something. Oh, we got the Green Deal back here. We introduced it in 2019.
Yeah.
It's 2025 now.
All right. Well, hey, Tony, my friend, got another call. Appreciate you calling as always, boss man.
Keep your head up.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, man. I just had a call. Feel free to call back in and we'll get you on here. Appreciate you calling. Sorry I didn't wasn't able to switch over correctly. But yeah, man, so that's real talk. It is coming. It is inevitable. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how's it going, man? It's Jason. I'm calling from Sacramento.
Jason from Sacramento. How you doing this evening? What's happening in your world, my friend?
Good, man. I just want to say something about this whole thing, about the economy and stuff.
Yeah, feel free to go ahead. Go do that.
So what I think is going to happen is that, when the dollar gets devalued, I don't think that a lot of people are going to lose confidence. I mean, as far as society-wise. But what I do believe is that people will actually want more because it will take more to, buy things.
Yeah.
I think that's what I think. But as far as crypto and wise, I'm not really into that. But I do believe that gold and silver will go up in prices. But that does not mean that people will lose confidence in the dollar. I mean, as far as society wise, but in national scale, I do believe that other nations will lose faith in the dollar. But as far as people that live in the country, I don't think they will lose confidence, but they would just feel like they would need more to actually buy things.
Yeah, I agree. And so, what happens is simply just because of how inflation is based, that the price of goods and services go up, and so therefore you think you need more paper, and so you don't look at the idea it's the paper that's the problem. It's the paper not purchasing much, which is your enemy. And so the goods and services, you're gonna blame your grocery store, you're gonna blame the gas station people saying they raising prices. But no, just from a business standpoint, their cost goes up. So therefore your cost goes up. So it's an indicator of the currency going down. And then in reference to your metals statement there, one thing came to mind as you mentioned that is that, you know, gold and silver has never changed. It's always been the same. Like the chemical composition. So just, you know, there's always, I got a gram right here. The chemical composition of this gold gram here has always been the same. It's never changed. It will never change. The only thing changes is the amount of units of currency it takes to purchase one. So money in form of metals is stable. As stable as it's going to be. It's a true stable coin, if you want to put it that way. It's what you need to spend in the form of your national currency to get it, which fluctuates. So it's inevitable that the cost of units for this thing has to go up, just because the amount of paper in supply will go up, which means there's just more units to try to get at that same finite gold source. So yeah, so my viewpoint is gold and silver is money. Everything else are just counteractive type of hedges and derivatives to that. So yeah, that's how I keep my peace of mind when I look at these two different units of accountability. But hey, man, I appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate you.
Bye.
Yeah, man. As always, more good back and forth. I appreciate everybody watching and chiming in. And as always, I haven't actually how many people we got tuning in this evening. It's so approximately 100 or so. I don't know what the thumbs up count is, but if you've enjoyed the back and forth and you want to support the channel, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. The thumbs up are free. All you got to do is just hit that thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever you prefer. Either way, just show your support that way so more people can find out what we got going on over here and come into the community. And so as always, we're about to draw down towards the end point. But more importantly, just want to direct your guys' attention to some of the resources I have on the channel here. So as time goes on, trying to just get more people some options, whether it be educational material or ways to support the channel. So as you see here, if you want to support via Patreon, become a monthly subscriber to the channel there, and it gives me a chance to free up some more time to work on more content, as well as I got one of my sponsors right here, Masterbarber magazine. Definitely check those guys out over there. Definitely bringing barbershop talk into the main light. So should be good, man. But anyway, want to sign out tonight. It's been great as always. Definitely will be back tomorrow night. Got a couple guests I'm working on, which you guys will definitely enjoy. And other than that, be safe, be blessed, and I will see you guys later. Peace.